Hey, what's going on, everyone? I decided to make this video of my 25 essential albums, albums that influenced me, that I've loved throughout my life, and just say I was going on desert island. These are the 25 albums I'd pick. It's hard for me just to pick 10 because I like so much stuff. In this video, I try to limit everything to just one album per artist, but it was kind of tough. So some artists do have more than one album in there. Um, we're living in uncertain times, and a lot of people are bored. Internet usage is up, so I like watching videos where people talk about albums. So I figured I'd make my own. I haven't done one like this in like a year. Last video I did was all my '90s albums on vinyl. So this is all gonna be vinyl. There are 4 CDs in here, only because I don't own them on vinyl. But this is in alphabetical order. It's not ranked from 1 to 25, worst to best, best to worst or anything like that. So, all right, let's get started. First up is AC/DC Highway to Hell. This is one of the very first albums I've owned. It's still kind of beat up. Got this from my dad. I heard the song Highway to Hell actually on WWF SummerSlam '98, and I fell in love with the song, and my dad introduced me to this album. And this is the last album to do with Bon Scott. My favorite by AC/DC. Back in Black is a flawless album, but if I'm going AC/DC, this is what I'm grabbing first. I like the Bon Scott era more than Brian Johnson, but like I said, Back in Black is amazing. Next up is one of my all-time favorite albums by one of my all-time favorite bands, Aerosmith, Get Your Wings. This is their second album. My favorite song off here is Lord of the Sighs, and Seasons of Wither is an awesome song off here. Opens up with Same Old Song and Dance, and Train Kept a Rollin' is also on here. Yeah, Same Old Song and Dance is really the only hit song off of here. But Aerosmith, Get Your Wings. A lot of these albums I own on vinyl, CD, and cassette. But like I said, I'm just doing vinyl now. Next up, this is probably one of the, if not the greatest band of all time. It's hard for me to pick just one, but I went with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. Again, this is one of the very first vinyls that I've owned. I found this at my grandmother's house, belonged to my uncle. But the Beatles can change any day for me. There's the gatefold. We can go with Rubber Soul, we can go Revolver, we can go Sgt. Pepper's, we can do Abbey Road, the White Album, Help. Always changed for me, and surprisingly, I only picked one from the Beatles when I could have picked like 10. Next up is, in my opinion, the creation of heavy metal, Black Sabbath's self-titled debut. Just an eerie photo. Always loved the album art. When I was younger, I actually thought that was Ozzy, but it's not. I can't say anything about Sabbath, and has been said already. Again, another band, hard to pick one from, but this is just for me. This is the debut, and just Sabbath at, I don't even want to say it's best, but it's most original, I want to say. Nothing prepared you for this when this came out in 1970. Like, this came out as the Beatles were still together, so. Yep, the Black Sabbath. Alright, next up we are at the Cars debut album. This is almost like a greatest hits. Good Times Roll, Best Friends Girl, Just What I Needed, I'm a Touch of Your World, Don't You Stop, You're All I've Got Tonight, Bye Bye Love, Moving in Stereo, which is my favorite song from this, and All Mixed Up. Almost every single one of these songs are played on the radio. That's why I call it like the greatest hits album. And the Cars actually called that also. It's a nice day outside, so there's people driving by. So someone's jamming the Eagles right now. Next we have Sheenhead by Deep Purple. Flawless album. 7 tracks on here. Features the classic Smoke on the Water, but some of my favorite songs. Lazy, Maybe I'm a Leo, Space Truckin', Highway Star. Just amazing. This is the second album with Ian Gillan. The first one was In Rock. Next, another band which as a teenager I grew up loving. It's hard for me to pick only one because they have 6 studio albums and they're all amazing. But this one I feel like was the most essential and most groundbreaking. And I'm going with The Doors, their debut album. Break On Through, Soul Kitchen, Light My Fire, The End, 20th Century Fox, End of the Night. So many great songs on this. For me, the best Doors album is a toss-up between this and Waiting for the Sun. But like I said, this was so different for the times. A band has never sounded like the Doors and never will. There's just such a unique sound. This came out in January of 1967, which became later in that year the Summer of Love. And just the Ray Manzarek playing bass on organ and playing organ. Robbie Krieger, such an underrated guitarist. John Densmore, and of course Jim Morrison on vocals. Next up we have Bob Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited. For me, this is like the beginning of rock music. Not rock and roll, but rock music. Opens up with Like a Rolling Stone, which could be known as one of the greatest songs of all time. Now, a lot of people don't like Dylan's voice, but I feel it's like perfect Dylan-esque on this album. Just that snare to begin with, Like a Rolling Stone, is just amazing. Tombstone Blues, the solo on that with Mike Bloomfield is just amazing. And then like the 11-minute ending close, Desolation Row, like what a fantastic songwriter this guy is. Highway 61. Again, another guy that's hard for me to pick only one album. I could have Bring It All Back Home, Blonde on Blonde, Blood on the Tracks. And I'm just looking to make sure I get the CDs in the right order since we're going alphabetical order. Another album, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. This isn't the original vinyl. This is a repress on 180 gram. Yeah, this came out when I was young, so this was pretty much, these guys were, that was the rock band. They were hard, they were heavy, they were nasty, they were hated. Just great stuff. Rocket Queen is my favorite song off of this album. But, the hit songs, I don't really listen to as much. Like Sweet Child of Mine, I can skip over. Paradise City, I can skip over. For some reason, I still love Welcome to the Jungle when it opens it, so I stick with that. My Michelle is another great song on there. Alright, next up, we're going to go to CD. Iron Maiden, The Number of the Beast. First album they did with Bruce Dickinson. This is a remastered CD. Just a flawless album, 5-star album. My favorite track on here is Hallowed Be Thy Name. I'm a big fan of the Paul Di'Anno era of the self-titled and Killers, but Number of the Beast, it's up there as Bruce's best, along with Power Slave and Peace of Mind. Another CD, another band to pick, hard to pick one from. Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. Just the opening with the Hellion and To Electric Eye is amazing. The hit songs off here, You Got Another Thing Coming, and Screaming for Vengeance wasn't really a hit. But this was the follow-up to British Steel, which really made Judas Priest a household name. Next up is a band where I was going to pick their debut album. I was going to pick their second album, but I decided to go with their breakthrough album, Kiss Alive. It's maybe the only live album that I have on this list. Only because it collects the first 3 studio albums, which was the self-titled Hotter Than Hell and Dressed to Kill. And this is kind of the album that blew Kiss up, made them a household name. And after this, they released the studio album Destroyer, and that really put them over. But there's just some great tracks on here. Deuce, Strutter, Got to Choose. Like I said, it collects all the tracks on the first couple albums. And is it really live? There's a picture of the first 3 albums. Is it really live or is it overdubbed? I don't know, but it's still amazing. Sorry, I got little allergies here. Once again, another band that I could not pick, just one by one of the greatest bands of all time. This may not be my favorite by them, but I'm going because it's the longest album they have. It's a double album, it has the most tracks, so if I'm going Deserted Island, I'm bringing this. Physical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin. although it probably features my favorite Led Zeppelin song, which is The Rover. Features the hit singles House is a Holy, Trample Underfoot, and of course Kashmir, which is amazing. Some other great songs on here is In the Light, 10 Years Gone, very underrated songs. Alright, next up is, this is the first band that I have two albums in this list. Going with Metallica, Ride the Lightning. You know, growing up, I knew the Black Album Metallica, the 90s Metallica, so when I went back to hear the faster stuff, this was the first one I bought, mainly because of Fade to Black, and it just blew me away. Creeping Death, Call of Cthulhu, the Ride the Lightning, the track Ride the Lightning, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fight Fire with Fire, Trapped Under Ice, Escape, just an amazing album. I still wish Metallica is, stuck to this formula and still put out stuff like that. And as you probably guessed, the next up will be Master of Puppets. It was kind of hard for me to choose between Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. The only reason I put Ride the Lightning above Master of Puppets is because Ride the Lightning was the first early Metallica album that I heard. Master of Puppets is obviously flawless. I don't need to say anything about it. Although nowadays, I feel like my favorite Metallica album may be Injustice for All. It's just the way I'm in the mood I'm in right now, and it may change. Next up is Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love, their debut album. Not a real famous album by them, but the work on there is just flawless. Definitely different. The song on here that I love the most by Motley Crue is On With The Show. But it's just fast, it's nasty, it's heavy. It's not Girls, 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 Motley Crue. It's not Dr. Feelgood. It's not Theater of Pain. This was amazing, as is the follow-up, Shout the Devil. But for me, my personal favorite would be Too Fast for Love. Next up is pretty much the album that I grew up with. The only album I would listen to growing up. And this is Nirvana with Nevermind. In Utero was always my favorite, but playing in the band and doing Nirvana tribute, we play almost every song off Nevermind. And being that it's their most successful album, I just kind of see the genius of it, especially with Butch Vig's production. So many hit songs on here that still get played on the radio every single day. Of course, Smells Like Teen Spirit, and Bloom, Lithium, and Come As You Are. And even tracks that aren't hits, they became hits, like Territorial Pissings, Something in the Way, On a Plane. Just an amazing album. This is definitely a perfect album. Oh, and Polly. Breed is another song. Next up is the other artist that has more than one entry in this list, mainly because it's my favorite guitarist, and talk about Randy Rhoads. And Ozzy Osbourne's debut album, Blizzard of Oz, features Crazy Train and my favorite track off here. I know it's a hit song, Mr. Crowley, but the guitar in there is just amazing. And if you watch the video on YouTube, Mr. Crowley with Randy's playing, it's perfection. Although when it comes to Randy, I think my favorite album he's done is this one, Diary of the Madman. That's why I couldn't just pick one. The title track itself, Diary of the Madman, is just epic. It has Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, Little Dials Tonight, Can't Kill Rock and Roll, Believer. Just amazing. Just flawless guitar playing from Randy Rhoads. Alright, I think I have a CD now. Again, another band, I couldn't pick just one. This isn't my favorite by them, but I feel like it holds up the most if you listen all the way through. And it's Pantera with Vulgar Display of Power, their second album. Mouth for War, New Level, Walk, Fucking Hostile, This Love, Rise, No Good, Live in a Hole, Regular People, By Demons Be Driven, and it ends with Hollow. Pantera came out pretty heavy in 1990 with Cowboys from Hell. It's definitely different. Had elements of thrash, but it was heavier. Almost like it was raw. The Phil's vocals were, unheard of at the time. And they came back with Vulgar Display of Power and actually got heavier. And Pantera actually got heavier by the album, which is kind of crazy. Excuse me. Next up is probably, my favorite band, although I'm a little disappointed with their newest release because I think it's terrible. I picked this album because it was the first one I owned by them, and it's obviously their best, although their second album holds up. And depending on the day, I could pick anything, but I'm going with Pearl Jam with 10. Like any given day, I could pick Versus, Vitology, Yield, Binaural is amazing. So is the self-titled Avocado album. Pearl Jam, this is, again, this is almost their greatest hits album. It's got Once, Even Flow, Jeremy, Alive, Black, Why Go, Porch, all songs you still hear on the radio. And it ends with the amazing song Release. Alright, we're still in the P's. A band that no one will ever touch on. No one will ever touch this album. This may be the greatest album of all time. It has sold since the day it came out in 1973. And not my favorite album by the band, but one of my favorite albums of all time. Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. For me, you could pick any of the 70s Pink Floyd albums, whether it be Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, or The Wall, or even Metal. Atom Heart Mother and Obscured by Clouds also came in the 70s. But for me, personally, I would pick Wish You Were Here as my favorite Pink Floyd album, but this is just a flawless album. Like, it doesn't get any better than this, really. This is up there with, like, Sgt. Pepper's as the greatest album of all time. And probably the most iconic artwork. You see this everywhere. Like, I can't say enough about that because it's so great. Alright, next up, the world's greatest rock and roll band, the Rolling Stones. I went with Sticky Fingers. I also love Let It Bleed and Exile on Main Street, but I'm going to do a little zipper there. This has Brown Sugar on it, Wild Horses, Can't You Hear Me Knocking, the amazing riff of Can't You Hear Me Knocking, and the solo to the end of Sway, played by Mick Taylor, is just amazing. This is a flawless album, near perfect, and again, another iconic artwork that everyone knows about. Alright, I got two left. I actually have this on vinyl, so I don't know why I grabbed the CD. But Slayer, Rain and Blood, oh, blurry there. Perfect album, 10 songs, pure thrash metal, clocks in at like a half hour long, and it's just amazing. This is one of those albums that you put on and you can't just play just one track. You have to play them all the way through. That was the first Slayer album I bought. I heard the track Angel of Death on like Ozfest 95 compilation. So that was my first time hearing of Slayer. So of course I'm going to go after that song when I'm going to buy Slayer. And it's the opening track of Rain and Blood, and I was obviously blown away by the entire album. And my favorite Slayer song probably is Rain and Blood, which ends the track. Alright, next up I went with my personal favorite. This is the last album. This is number 25 of 25. Some people may disagree with me. Other people may know that this band did not release a bad album during his era. Van Halen. David Lee Roth era Van Halen. The first 6 albums that Van Halen did are just flawless, all of them. I went with that Van Halen too, although the first Van Halen album is probably their greatest. I went with 2 just because it quickly became my favorite. Well, I don't know about quickly, but gradually it became my favorite. Opening with the cover of Linda Ronstadt's You're No Good, Rating to Dance the Night Away, which is an awesome pop song. Somebody Get Me a Doctor. What else is on here? Bottoms Up, Women in Love, Light Up the Sky, DOA. DOA is an insane song. And it ends with Beautiful Girls, which I always loved. So yeah, Van Halen 2. A personal favorite of mine, that's why I picked it over Van Halen 1. So that was the 25, my 25 essential albums. Again, you can agree with me, you can disagree with me, I'm just giving you my opinion. If you want, I would like to hear your favorite albums. You can comment below, or you can make a video in response to this. But again, everyone stay safe, stay healthy. I'm actually home from work right now. I'm working from home. I know I got some allergies, but I'm kind of feeling off. So I got to get to the doctors and get this taken care of. But yeah, it's uncertain times, and hopefully everyone makes it out okay. And, businesses survive after this. Scary times. But I want to make this video just for some entertainment for all of us people that love music. In the meantime, check out my band, The Elysiums. Head over to the website, theelysiumsrock.com. Head over to our YouTube channel. All our videos are there. We just released an album a couple weeks ago called Sick Again. It's a live EP from Broken Goblet Brewing. Broken Goblet Brewing, please support them. The best brewery that I've been to, located in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. But yeah, stay tuned. Subscribe to the Elysium's YouTube channel. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, anywhere you stream music. We're there. All right, everyone, stay safe. Thanks for watching.